Welcome to the Walaway. This is Imran Nalawala, and we are once again joined by Ghulam Kehar. Ghulam, how you doing, brother?
Alhamdulillah, man. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, guys, we got a short one today, so we're going to get straight into it. Ghulam is going to be running a half marathon, which is 13 miles, Ghulam?
Yes, 13.1.
And this is your first one?
Second one.
Okay, so break it down to us, brother, because when I hear marathon and I hear 13 miles, brother, I think fatigue and tiredness and a lack of control on my part, maybe a lack of discipline. So I guess two areas I want you to focus in on are the physical side of it and then the mental side of it. So how do you break this down to us, how you even approach doing this?
Got it. So I've never been a runner my entire life. Like, even though I've been active, I never ran long distances. It's always been 4 or 5 miles was my max. 13 was okay, that's not me. I don't do that stuff. But the reason I got into it was at the time in March 2020 is when I ran the Irving Marathon, the 13.1 miles. And I was training for it because I wanted to actually lose weight. That was my kind of main motivation, to get fit, to lose weight. I was quite heavier than I should have been. And so I was just like, hey, let me run. That's the best way to, along with diet. So I got into it. I started doing it. And then during that process, I fell in love with running. And I still remember specifically certain times where I was following a plan where you have to work from 1 mile to 2 mile, 3. So, you have to work your way up, right? For anything, there's a journey. Like, here's where I am. Here's where I need to be. There's a journey on the way. You can't just jump and get there. So during that journey, I just felt, or I realized how much more this is mental than physical. Because you're alone, you're running, it's no one but you, it's you in your head. A lot of people listen to stuff, I didn't even listen to anything. Audiobooks here or there once in a while, but so that's how my main motivation was to get started, was to lose weight, and just I fell in love with the process, and I realized how much mentally I grew. And then I hadn't done one in it's been 1.5 years, and I'm doing this again because I ran into a group that's doing it. And I haven't run that much since then. So it's like, oh my God, I have to go through that training again. And a part of me is like, all right, time to push yourself again. Let's do it. So
is one mistake people make thinking about it like in one big chunk or unit, as opposed to breaking it down?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you start training, if you run 0 miles, like you've never run in your life, because I know people like that who they're like, I can't run a 1/4 mile. Like, I mean, what are you talking about, 13 miles? You have a plan. You'll start, right? You'll do a 1/4 mile, then you'll do 1/2 mile, then you'll do 0.7, then 1, and you'll work your way up nice and slow. If you look at any training schedule or training plan for marathons, it shows you how you work your way up. So absolutely, you can't even dream about running it right now. You could, you'll break your legs, you'll pull a few things, but you might make it. But if you want to become comfortable, your body and mind need to adjust. So it's absolutely incremental. There's no rush.
And a lot of people talk about this, like, maybe I'm not phrasing it appropriately, but like runner's high. But what is some of the mental clarity you get, or what, because you mentioned this a couple times. I know you and I were talking about swimming the other day, and there's some similarities between swimming, but what are some of the mental benefits of just that long running?
It's interesting. A couple of things from me personally is, like, when you're running, you're going for a longer run. Not every run is long, right? Most runs, even for marathons, are not long when you train, but you have your long days. So when you're starting off, you're like, all right, I know I have to be running for 2 hours, 2.5 hours. It's just me and my mind. So you kind of, you set yourself up where, like, all right, I have to figure out how I'm going to deal with this space. So you start planning, okay, how am I going to fill this time? What am I going to think about? What do I need to reflect on? How do I break it up? For me, I used to train on a 1/4 mile track. So I used to do it by lap. All right, on this lap, I'm going to think about this. And then this lap, I'm going to think about this. And on this lap, I'm going to think about this again.
Wow.
And then obviously sometimes I realize, all right, I have to lap my mind went somewhere else. So connecting, where I am with what I need to do helps. But the clarity is just, you think about everything you possibly can. Because it's just you and your mind. Like, you have to fill it. Unless, again, you're listening to something, which I usually don't. You can't hide any of your thoughts. All your thoughts come out. All like the bad thoughts, the good thoughts. So everything just comes out, and you have to figure out how to deal with it, right?
So guys, this is a short one today because we only got a couple minutes left, but some interesting connections for me. Start in phases or steps, take it incrementally.
If I could add one more
please,
thing.
go ahead.
One really mental point that it goes across all, like, physical disciplines is when you're at runner's high. I'm not such a avid runner that I can like speak generally, but just for me, is you get to the zone where like you feel your mind is disconnected from your body. Like you feel like you're watching yourself run. Like, you're a passenger in this body that's running. So I've got to that a few times where, I ran 10, 11 miles and I'm like, that's it. It went by so quick. And now, it's not like that most of the time, but when you're in the zone, you're in the zone. You could go for much longer. So that's a real cool kind of mental trick that, we strive to get to.
It's interesting because that zone, like, it's some people also refer to it as like flow. And people talk about it in different disciplines, right? Even in writing. You hear writers talk about when they get into that flow, it's just, that pen keeps moving, right? They're almost an out-of-body experience. You hear even actors talking about it. But connections, guys, even in terms of like, if you're someone who wants to pick up reading, but you're not accustomed to reading books, right? You don't start trying to knock out the whole book in one go. You slowly build up to that tolerance, right? Where you're able to read for longer and longer durations. He brought up exercising or weight training, same thing with weight training. You don't try to go for broke in the first go and lift the heaviest weights or lift for the longest time. You got to ease yourself into it. So very, very practical and great advice, not only for becoming a marathon runner, but I guess picking up any discipline in general. So thank you for sharing that, brother.
My pleasure, man. My pleasure.